The Ventaxian boot came down hard on humanity's skull, crushing human civilization until their alien overlords saw them as mere primitive savages. But they underestimated the survivors' resolve. On a remote colony in Ventaxian space, brilliant xenolinguist Jesse Bryant dreams of humanity's resurgence while toiling under Overseer Hydras's imperious eye. Jesse's hopes kindle when he uncovers a cryptic message in ancient Ventaxian texts, hinting at an axiom artifact of immense power hidden in the colony's untamed wilds. Seizing this chance to shatter the status quo, he gathers an eclectic crew of human rebels. Sarah Briggs, a grizzled war veteran, Caleb Ortega, a prodigious hacker, and Mira Patel, an enigmatic smuggler. Overseer Hydras, fanatically devoted to Ventaxian supremacy, dispatches the ruthless enforcer Zythax to secure the artifact. The race is on as Jesse's team navigates treacherous ruins and hostile frontiers, facing danger at every turn. In an ancient alien city, they unearth their prize, an Axiom neural interface thrumming with latent power. But their triumph is fleeting. Zythax and his forces descend, and a vicious firefight erupts. With no other choice, Jesse dons the interface, his mind flooding with energy and knowledge as his human limits melt away. Desperation breeds inspiration, and he unleashes a reality-warping psionic maelstrom that shatters the Ventaxian forces. The interface was just the beginning. As the dust settles, the scope of their discovery becomes clear, a galaxy-spanning network that could reforge the cosmos. The once primitive humans now grasp the strings of fate, the key to their own freedom and the future of countless worlds. The mighty Ventaxian Empire will unleash hell to claim this power. But Jesse and his band of rebels have tasted hope, and they'll fight to the bitter end to prove that humanity will never again kneel as primitives. The battle to reshape the galaxy has only just begun. In the wake of their explosive confrontation with the Ventaxians, Jesse and his crew gathered, the weight of their discovery settling upon them. The neural interface thrummed with latent power, a tangible symbol of the shifting balance in the galaxy. Caleb, his eyes alight with the glow of holographic displays, broke the silence. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice tight with excitement. "The device, it's more than just a weapon. It contains coordinates, a galactic treasure map leading to other Axiom sites hidden throughout Ventaxian space." The implications hung in the air, electric and heavy. Sarah leaned forward, her battle-hardened features cast in sharp relief by the interface's pulsing light. "If each site holds another piece of this technology, then together they could form a network of unimaginable power," Mira finished, her usually inscrutable expression replaced by one of fierce dedication. Jesse nodded, his mind racing with the possibilities and dangers that lay ahead. The Ventaxians would stop at nothing to possess this power, to use it to tighten their stranglehold on the galaxy. But in the hands of humanity, it could be the key to their freedom, to reshaping the very fabric of the cosmos. A plan began to take shape, bold and audacious. "We split up," he said, his voice ringing with resolution. "Mira and I will infiltrate the Ventaxian capital. With the interface, we can pass as one of them, gather intel on what they know about the Axiom." "And the rest of us?" Sarah asked, already knowing the answer. "You and Caleb head to the coordinates of the nearest site. Secure whatever Axiom tech you can before the Ventaxians catch wind of it." The risks were immense, the challenges daunting, but in each of their eyes burned a fierce persistence. They had come too far, sacrificed too much to turn back now. As they prepared to embark on their separate missions, the air crackled with a sense of destiny, a feeling that the very course of the galaxy would be decided by their actions in the coming days. In the gleaming spires of the Ventaxian capital, Jesse moved like a ghost, the neural interface granting him the appearance and abilities of their alien overlords. He slipped through the halls of power, an unseen observer privy to their most closely guarded secrets. What he learned chilled him to his core. The Ventaxians were indeed aware of the Axiom, and were locked in a desperate race to secure their technology. But even more concerning were the whispers of Apex, a clandestine weapons project that sought to artificially replicate the Axiom's power. On a remote, windswept moon, Sarah and Caleb stood before the yawning entrance of another Axiom ruin. Inside, amidst the crumbling remnants of a long-dead civilization, They discovered not just another interface, but a stasis pod, its occupant waiting in frozen sleep. With anxious anticipation, they activated the pod and watched as an Axiom, a female named Zara, took her first breath in millennia. Zara spoke of her people, of the true potential of their technology. But before she could reveal more, the ruins echoed with the sound of Ventaxian boots. Zythax had returned, his forces surrounding them, weapons drawn. In the chaos of battle, Zara was recaptured, but not before she pressed a small data chip into Caleb's hand, a final, audacious attempt. When the teams reunited, the weight of their discoveries hung heavy in the air. The Axiom technology was not just a tool, but a test, a cosmic trial that would elevate worthy species to join the Axiom on a higher plane. The Ventaxians, driven by their own delusions of supremacy, sought to cheat this test, to seize the power without the wisdom to wield it. If Apex succeeded, the consequences would be catastrophic. The data chip pulsed with secrets, revealing the location of the central Axiom nexus. There, the final piece of the puzzle awaited. As the Ventaxian net tightened around them, Jesse made the call. They would steal an experimental stealth ship, a desperate bid to reach the nexus before their enemies. But even as they prepared for the heist, Caleb couldn't shake the unease growing in his gut. He had seen the look in Jesse's eyes, the ruthless willpower born of the interface's power. They stood on the precipice of their greatest challenge yet, the fate of galaxies in their hands. But as they raced towards the unknown, a question lingered, unspoken but ever present. In their fight to save humanity, what would they be willing to sacrifice? And when the dust settled, would they still recognize what they had become? The story hurtled forward, a cosmic game of chess approaching its endgame. The stakes had never been higher, the price of failure never more dire. In the heart of the Axiom Nexus, the true test awaited, and in the crucible of that final confrontation, the very essence of humanity would be reforged, or shattered forever. The stolen Ventaxian stealth ship hummed with hardly restrained energy as Jesse's team maneuvered it out of the hidden dry dock. Caleb's fingers danced across holographic controls, his eyes wide with excitement. "This tech is light years beyond anything I've seen," he whispered. "Look at these sensor readings." A flashing alert caught their attention. Sarah leaned in, her brow furrowing. "Encrypted transmissions, lots of them." Jesse interfaced with the ship's systems, his consciousness expanding through its neural network. Data flowed through him like a river, and his eyes widened. It's about Project Apex. They're not just replicating Axiom tech, they're creating an army of enhanced super soldiers. Mira cursed under her breath, as if the Ventaxians weren't dangerous enough already. As they plotted a course for the Axiom Nexus coordinates, the ship's advanced sensors picked up an anomaly. Jesse frowned, focusing on the readings. There's a distress signal coming from a nearby system. Sarah's hand reflexively tightened on her weapon. Could be a trap. Or someone who needs our help, Mira countered. We can't just ignore it. Jesse made the call. We investigate carefully. They found a secret Ventaxian prison colony, a sprawling complex on a desolate moon. Scans revealed a diverse population of inmates, dissidents and rebels from across the Empire. Wait, Caleb said, enhancing a visual feed. That one's different. A Ventaxian, but not a guard. Jesse studied the figure, younger than most Ventaxians they'd encountered, with an air of refinement despite his prison garb. A political prisoner, maybe. This could be valuable. They formulated a plan, using the stealth ship's cloaking technology to approach undetected. Jesse led a small team into the facility, his psionic abilities allowing them to move like ghosts through security checkpoints. They found their target in a high-security wing. The Ventaxian looked up as they entered his cell, surprise and hope warring on his alien features. I am Kalteros, he said in flawless human standard. I never thought I'd see the day when humans came to rescue a Ventaxian. Before Jesse could respond, alarms blared through the facility. A booming voice echoed through hidden speakers. Intruders detected. This is Warden Zartok. All personnel to battle stations. Time to go, Sarah growled, readying her weapon. They fought their way through waves of guards, Cal proving himself a capable fighter despite his imprisonment. As they neared the exit, a towering Ventaxian blocked their path. Warden Zartok himself, clad in fearsome battle armor. "You dare violate this sacred ground?" Zartok roared, energy crackling around his massive frame. Jesse stepped forward, power surging through him. "Your sacred ground is built on oppression and lies." The battle that followed was brief but intense. Zartok's raw strength and advanced weaponry clashed against Jesse's growing psionic abilities. The air itself seemed to warp and twist as they dueled. With a final reality-bending surge of power, Jesse sent Zartok crashing through a wall. The warden did not rise. As they raced back to the ship, Cal spoke urgently. "I can help you. There are many within Ventaxian society who question our empire's actions. If you can prove the Axiom's power is more than just a weapon..." "We'll discuss it on board," Jesse cut him off as they reached the airlock. "For now, let's get out of here." The ship rocketed away from the prison moon, alarms fading behind them. As they set course once more for the Axiom Nexus, Jesse studied their new ally. Cal Taros might be the key to understanding their enemy, or a dangerous unknown in an already precarious mission. Either way, the true test still lay ahead. The coordinates beckoned, promising answers, power, and perhaps the fate of the galactic realm itself. The Dyson Sphere loomed before them, a colossal construct that dwarfed even the largest Ventaxian battleships. As their stolen stealth vessel glided through the outer defenses, Jesse felt a surge of anticipation. This was it, the nexus of Axiom power, the key to reshaping the galaxy. The ship docked with a gentle thud, and as the airlock cycled open, Jesse led his team into the alien megastructure. The interior pulsed with ethereal light, corridors stretching into infinity around a blazing artificial sun. "By the stars," Caleb whispered, his eyes wide. "It's like being inside a living machine." Before anyone could respond, the air before them shimmered. A figure coalesced, a luminous female form, her features both alien and familiar. "Welcome," the holographic avatar said, her voice resonating on multiple levels. "You have proven worthy of the test." Jesse stepped forward. "We seek the power of the Axiom." "And so you shall be given the opportunity," the avatar replied. "But know this, to access the full network, to unlock your true potential, you must sacrifice your physical forms. Your minds will be uploaded, integrated into the galactic consciousness." A heavy silence fell over the group. Sarah's hand tightened on her weapon. "That's not freedom," she growled. "It's extinction." Jesse turned to his team, his eyes blazing with intensity. "This is everything we've fought for. The power to reshape reality itself." "At what cost?" Mira countered. "Our humanity?" Cal Taros, the Ventaxian defector, spoke up. "I will take the trial," he said. "Perhaps in doing so, I can atone for the sins of my people." The group fractured. Jesse, Cal, and a handful of others moved towards a shimmering portal that had appeared. Sarah, Mira, and those unwilling to forsake their physical forms held back. As Jesse stepped into the upload chamber, he felt a moment of hesitation. Then the process began, and all doubts were obliterated by searing agony. His body dissolved, atoms scattering as his consciousness expanded. He became aware of the vastness of the network, of the raw power now at his fingertips. Outside the sphere, alarms blared. A Ventaxian fleet under Admiral Jarava had arrived, weapons primed. The human rebels scrambled to defensive positions as the first salvos impacted the Dyson Sphere's outer shell. Within the Nexus, Jesse and Cal grappled with their newfound abilities. Reality bent around them, responding to their merest thought. "We must act," Jesse said, his voice now a chorus of harmonics. "The Ventaxians..." "Wait," Cal cautioned. "We must learn control, or we risk becoming what we fought against." But Jesse's patience had worn thin. He reached out, intending to crush the Ventaxian fleet with a thought. The power surged, wild and untamed, threatening to tear him apart. On the outer shell, Mira watched as a Ventaxian dreadnought listed, crippled by rebel fire. An idea formed, desperate and reckless. "Vent the reactor plasma," she ordered. "We'll use it to breach the shell." The plan worked. A section of the Dyson sphere cracked open, exposing it to the fury of the trapped star. Energy cascaded through the structure, reaching the nexus itself. Jesse felt his digital form unraveling. Panic seized him, and with it came a primal hunger. He reached out not with compassion, but with brutal efficiency. The energy signatures of those around him, Cal, the other ascended humans, were absorbed, their individuality subsumed into Jesse's expanding consciousness. The nexus imploded, unable to contain the resulting surge of power. From the collapsing Dyson sphere emerged a being of pure psychic energy. Jesse, transformed beyond recognition, his humanity sacrificed on the altar of ambition. With a gesture, he annihilated Zrava's fleet, reducing warships to atoms in an instant. Then he turned his attention to the stunned survivors, human, Ventaxian, and those caught in between. "I offer you transcendence," Jesse's voice boomed across space itself. "Join me in godhood or face obliteration." Sarah stepped forward, her face a mask of willpower. Behind her, the remaining rebels readied themselves for one final stand against the being that had once been their hope for freedom. Sarah's eyes blazed with defiance as she faced the cosmic entity that had once been Jesse. "We won't bow to another tyrant," she declared, her voice carrying across the void of space. Jesse's form pulsed with terrifying energy. "Then you choose oblivion." The fabric of reality warped around them as Jesse unleashed his newfound power. Starships crumpled like paper, their hulls twisting into impossible shapes. Mira's quick thinking saved them from instant annihilation, activating an experimental shield that briefly deflected Jesse's onslaught. "We need to evacuate," Mira shouted over the comm. "Now!" The remnants of the human fleet scattered, desperately outrunning the spreading wave of destruction. Sarah's fingers flew across the control panel, plotting emergency jumps for civilian transports. "Get those ships clear," she ordered. "We'll buy them time." Their rearguard action was a losing battle. Jesse's worldcraft loomed behind them, a mobile citadel of impossible geometry crafted from the shattered remnants of the Dyson sphere. With each passing moment, more of their allies were consumed, transformed into subservient energy beings that swelled Jesse's ranks. Weeks passed in a blur of desperate retreats and frantic evacuations. Jesse's conquest spread like wildfire across the stars. Entire systems fell under his rule, remade according to his cosmic whims. The rebels regrouped at Karak Prime, a vital Ventaxian colony. Sarah stood on the bridge of her flagship, studying tactical readouts with stubborn persistence. "We make our stand here," she declared. The battle for Karak Prime was apocalyptic in scale. Jesse warped the very laws of physics, crushing fleets with a thought and reshaping continents at will. Sarah's ship shuddered under the assault, systems failing as they plummeted towards the planet's surface. "Brace for impact!" Sarah yelled as the ship plowed into rocky terrain. The crash left a miles-long furrow of twisted metal and burning debris. Sarah dragged herself from the wreckage, ears ringing. The sky above was alight with the death throes of capital ships. Through the haze of smoke, she spotted a familiar energy signature. Cal, somehow separated from Jesse's all-consuming presence. "Sarah," Cal's voice resonated in her mind. "I have found a way to stop him." As Cal explained his plan, Sarah's eyes widened. It was insane, suicidal even, but it was their only hope. "How do we get close enough?" Sarah asked. "I can mask our approach," Cal replied. "But once we're inside—" Sarah nodded grimly. "Then let's go save the universe." They slipped aboard Jesse's worldcraft, evading patrols of energy beings. The structure defied comprehension, corridors twisting in ways that hurt to look at directly. At last, they reached the central nexus. Jesse's ascended form hovered before them, a maelstrom of cosmic power. "Traitors," Jesse's voice boomed. "You dare!" Cal surged forward, initiating the uplink before Jesse could react. The two beings merged in a blinding flash of light. Reality itself seemed to scream. Sarah was thrown back, buffeted by waves of unimaginable force. She clung to a warped bulkhead, feeling as if her very atoms might fly apart at any moment. Across the galaxy, Mira and the remaining fleets weathered the storm of psionic energy. Stars flickered, planets wobbled in their orbits, and for one heart-stopping moment, it seemed the universe itself might unravel. Then abruptly silence fell. Sarah blinked, her vision clearing. Where the raging vortex of Jesse's power had been, a diminished figure now stood. His eyes, once blazing with cosmic fire, now held a deep weariness and profound remorse. "What have I done?" Jesse whispered, his voice cracking. As alarms blared and confusion reigned, Sarah realized their ordeal was nowhere near the end. Jesse's rampage had left a power vacuum across vast swaths of the galaxy. Already, reports were coming in of opportunistic warlords and rival factions vying for control. Sarah exchanged a weary glance with Jesse. The real work of rebuilding, of forging a truly just galactic order, was only just beginning. Sarah's eyes scanned the smoldering wreckage of what was once the Grand Hall of the Axiom conquered. The acrid stench of burning synthetics and scorched flesh assaulted her nostrils as she picked her way through the debris. Rescue teams worked frantically around her, pulling survivors from the rubble. "Preliminary casualty reports, ma'am," a haggard aide said, offering her a datapad. Sarah's teeth clenched as she scrolled through the numbers. Thousands dead, more injured. The Ventaxian Purification Front had struck a devastating blow. "We need to secure the perimeter," she ordered, "and get me a direct line to Jesse." As if summoned by her words, a shimmering portal materialized nearby. Jesse stepped through, his form still unsettling in its otherworldly grace. "I felt the disturbance," he said, his voice echoing strangely. "The fear, the pain." Sarah nodded grimly. "The front's work. We need to respond, and quickly." Jesse's eyes narrowed. "You know my proposal. With my abilities, we could ensure compliance, prevent further bloodshed." "At what cost?" Mira interjected, joining them. Her uniform was stained with ash and blood. "Forced subjugation? We'd be no better than the Ventaxians we overthrew." The air crackled with tension as Jesse and Mira faced off. Sarah stepped between them, her voice low but firm. "We'll discuss this later. Right now, we need to focus on the immediate threat." A commotion near the ruined entrance caught their attention. A group of security officers escorted a familiar figure, Overseer Hydrus, his once regal bearing diminished by his current circumstances. "I warned you," Hydrus said, his reptilian features twisting into a grimace. "Jarava and her ilk will never accept your concord. You need my expertise." Sarah's hand twitched towards her sidearm. "Your expertise nearly got us all killed at the Azaran shipyards." "And yet here I stand, offering aid once more," Hydrus replied smoothly. "The bombing carries hallmarks of Ventaxian deep-cover operatives. I can help you root them out." Before Sarah could respond, her comm unit chirped urgently. "What is it?" she snapped. "Ma'am, we've detected a security breach in the central database," the panicked voice reported. "Someone's accessed classified files on Concord defenses." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. A traitor in their midst, at the highest levels of command. She looked from Jesse to Mira to Hydrus, her mind racing. Trust, already a scarce commodity, had just become even more precious. As alarms blared and chaos swirled around them, Sarah knew that her next decisions would shape the fate of the galactic realm. "Lock down all systems," she ordered. "No one leaves until we find our leak." The hunt for the traitor had begun, and with it, the true test of the Axiom Concord's grit. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she scanned the faces around her. The acrid smell of smoke still hung in the air, a constant reminder of the devastation wrought by the bombing. Trust, already a precious commodity, had become even more elusive. "Initiate lockdown protocols," she ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "I want every system sealed, every communication monitored." As alarms blared and security teams scrambled to secure the perimeter, Sarah turned to face Jesse and Mira. The tension between them was palpable, a silent battle of ideologies threatening to erupt at any moment. "We need to act decisively," Jesse said, his otherworldly form shimmering with barely held back power. "The Ventaxian threat must be neutralized." Mira bristled. "And how do you propose we do that? By turning into the very monsters we fought against?" Before Sarah could intervene, A holographic display flickered to life, revealing the stern visage of Admiral Thorne. "Counselors, we've detected unusual activity on Gethsaya. Intel suggests a purification front cell may be operating there." Sarah's mind raced, weighing the risks against the potential, payoff. "Prepare a strike team," she decided. "We hit them hard and fast." The next hours passed in a blur of preparations. Sarah stood in the hangar bay, surveying her assembled team. Each face was grim, determined. They knew the stakes. As they boarded the assault shuttle, Mira caught Sarah's arm. "This is reckless," she warned. "We're playing right into their hands." Sarah shook her head. "We don't have a choice. If there's a mole in the Concorde, we need to root them out before—" Her words were cut short by a deafening explosion. The shuttle rocked violently, alarms screaming as it plummeted towards Gethsaya's surface. Sarah's world became a chaotic maelstrom of fire and twisted metal. She awoke to the gentle rustling of crops, her body aching from the impact. A weathered face loomed over her, concern etched in its features. "Easy there," the man said, helping Sarah to her feet. "Name's Darvis. You're lucky to be alive." Sarah took in her surroundings, a modest farmhouse nestled among endless fields of golden grain. In the distance, plumes of smoke marked where her team had scattered across the plains. Inside the farmhouse, a lithe Izaran female tended to the wounds of Sarah's surviving squad members. "Lyari," she introduced herself, her alien features unreadable. As night fell, Sarah huddled with Darvis and Lyari, planning their next move. The distant rumble of purification front vehicles grew steadily closer. "We can't stay here," Sarah said, her voice low. "We're putting you both in danger." Darvis's eyes hardened. "This is my home. I won't be driven from it by fanatics or your Concorde." Before Sarah could respond, Lyari's head snapped up. "They're here!" she hissed. Outside, searchlights cut through the darkness. The air filled with the ominous whine of energy weapons powering up. Sarah's hand tightened on her blaster as she met Darvis's gaze. "Looks like we make our stand here," she said grimly. The farm erupted into chaos as the first volley of fire tore through the night sky. Sarah dove for cover behind an overturned tractor, her ears ringing from the deafening explosions. Darvis crouched beside her, his weathered face set in fierce dedication as he returned fire with an ancient slug thrower. "We need to fall back," Sarah shouted over the din. "There's too many of them." Lyari's lithe form darted between shadows, her alien physiology allowing her to move with uncanny speed. "This way," she hissed, gesturing towards a hidden cellar entrance. As they retreated, a searing bolt of plasma struck Darvis in the chest. He crumpled without a sound, his eyes already vacant. Sarah fought back the urge to scream, dragging the fallen farmer's body into the relative safety of the underground shelter. The next hours passed in a blur of smoke, blood, and desperation. Sarah's surviving squad members fought with the tenacity of cornered animals, but one by one they fell to the relentless purification front assault. When the dust settled, only Sarah and a handful of rebels remained alive. Lyari's final act was to activate a hidden escape tunnel, buying them precious seconds with her life. As Sarah stumbled through the subterranean passage, the weight of failure crushed down upon her. The Gethsaya operation had been a massacre, plain and simple. Days later, Sarah stood before a hastily assembled war council on the rebel-held world of Novus Prime. Her voice was hoarse as she recounted the disaster on Gethsaya. "We've become no better than the Ventaxians," she concluded, her eyes burning with nearly unleashed fury. "Our methods, our disregard for civilian life, we've betrayed everything we once stood for." Mira nodded gravely, her usually animated features drawn and haggard. "We need a new approach," she said, "one that doesn't involve more senseless bloodshed." As heated debate erupted among the council members, Sarah's gaze was drawn to an unlikely ally. Krashi, the serpentine Izaran diplomat, raised a clawed hand for silence. "Perhaps," Krashi's sibilant voice cut through the chaos, "it is time we considered the unthinkable, negotiation with Drava herself." The room exploded into shouting once more, but Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. It was a risky move, but after the horrors of Gethsaya, She was willing to try anything to stop the cycle of violence. As Sarah and her allies began to formulate their audacious plan, they were unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. In the shadows of the council chamber, Jesse's loyalists listened with growing rage, their leader's cosmic power humming beneath their skin. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shatter the fragile peace of the galactic realm once and for all. Sarah's eyes swept across the war-torn council chamber. The air hung heavy with tension and the acrid smell of burnt circuitry. She drew a deep breath, steadying herself for what came next. "We've lost our way," she began, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "The bloodshed on Gethsaya proves it. We need a new approach." Mira nodded, relief evident in her posture. "What do you propose?" Before Sarah could respond, Krashi slithered forward, scales gleaming in the dim light. "Perhaps," the Azaran diplomat hissed, "it is time we consider the unthinkable, negotiation with Jarava herself." The chamber erupted into chaos. Shouts of protest and disbelief echoed off the walls. Sarah raised a hand, silencing the crowd. "Krashi is right," she declared. "We must forge a new path." Months of delicate negotiations followed. Sarah found herself in clandestine meetings with former enemies, brokering an uneasy alliance against the rising tide of human warlords and opportunistic alien regimes. The Axiom Concord dissolved, reborn as the Axiom Alliance, a coalition of equal partners, each species represented on a governing council. But peace remained elusive. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship, watching as Mira's fleet engaged Jack Torrant's mercenary armada over the Zorail shipyards. Explosions bloomed silently in the void, fighters darting between capital ships like angry insects. "Status report," Sarah barked. A young officer's voice crackled over the comms. "Admiral Mira's strategy is working. Torrant's forces are in retreat." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The battle was won, but Torrant had slipped away once more, vanishing into the lawless Badlands. As the dust settled, a more insidious threat emerged. Reports flooded in of uprisings on civilized worlds, pro-Ventaxian sentiment flaring to life. Behind it all lurked the shadow of Lady Selira, the Vasrine matriarch whose cunning manipulations threatened to tear the fledgling alliance apart. Sarah paced her quarters, mind racing. She needed an edge, a way to root out Selira's conspiracy. Her gaze fell on Jesse, his otherworldly presence a constant reminder of the power at their disposal. "I have a mission for you," Sarah said, outlining her plan. Jesse nodded, his eyes gleaming with hardly restrained energy. Weeks passed. Sarah threw herself into the work of solidifying the alliance, mediating disputes between member species. Then came the transmission that changed everything. Jesse's holographic form flickered to life, but something was wrong. His eyes held a cold fury Sarah had never seen before. "You betrayed us," Jesse snarled. "The Vasrin have shown me the truth." Sarah's blood ran cold. "Jesse, whatever they've told you—" The feed cut off abruptly. Alarms blared throughout the command center. "Counselor," an aide burst in, "we've lost contact with the Outer Rim colony. Jesse's leading an attack." Sarah was already moving, barking orders. "Get me a direct line to Mira. We need to contain this now." The confrontation on the colony world was brutal and swift. Sarah found herself face to face with Jesse, his cosmic power radiating in waves of barely controlled fury. "It ends here," Jesse growled, raising a hand crackling with energy. Sarah closed her eyes, bracing for the killing blow. It never came. A flash of light, a scream of rage, and Jesse crumpled to the ground. Mira stood behind him, her own psionically enhanced abilities leaving her trembling with exertion. "We need to talk," Mira said, her voice hard. In the aftermath, Sarah found herself adrift. Jesse imprisoned, the alliance teetering on the brink of collapse. It was Krashi who approached her with an audacious plan. "The Lurin," the Azaran whispered, "ancient, isolationist. Their technology could turn the tide against Solera." Sarah nodded, a spark of hope rekindling. "Make the arrangements. It's time for first contact." The Lurin homeworld defied description. Sarah stood before the ruling council, her voice steady as she made her case. Hours of tense negotiation followed, but in the end, she emerged victorious. The Lurin agreed to lend a powerful AI, capable of dismantling Salira's regime from within. As Sarah interfaced with the AI, its cold logic seeped into her consciousness. A vision of unity, of order, crystallized in her mind. The fractured alliance, the threats of Torrent and Salira, all of it could be swept away. All it would take was the right application of force. Sarah's eyes hardened as she severed the connection. She knew what had to be done. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered. "It's time to end this once and for all." Sarah's eyes snapped open, her connection to the Lurin AI severed. The cold logic that had seeped into her mind moments ago crystallized into a chilling certainty. She knew what had to be done. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered, her voice devoid of emotion. "It's time to end this once and for all." As Sarah's Lurin-augmented armada spread across the galaxy, Mira and Krashi worked tirelessly to uncover the truth behind Jesse's disappearance. Their search led them to the desolate world of HFY, a frozen wasteland of howling winds and barren plains. The derelict Ventaxian research outpost loomed before them, a testament to long-forgotten scientific pursuits. Mira's breath caught in her throat as they entered the facility, her psionically enhanced senses tingling with residual energy. "He's here," she whispered, following the faint psychic trail. They found Jesse, or what remained of him, in the heart of the complex. His essence pulsed within an archaic neural matrix, a prison of his own making. Mira approached cautiously, her hand hovering over the containment field. Jesse's voice echoed in their minds, weak but urgent. "Don't! It's too dangerous. My power, I can't control it." Krashi slithered forward, scales scraping against the metal floor. "We have no choice," the Azaran diplomat hissed. "Sarah's influence grows by the hour. We need you, Jesse." Mira nodded grimly. "I can feel her reach expanding. Whatever she's done with that Lurin AI, it's changing her. Changing everything." Jesse's essence flared within the matrix. "There's a way," he conceded, "but the cost—" Krashi produced a data crystal, its facets glowing with arcane symbols. "The codes to reintegrate your consciousness," the diplomat explained, "into a new vessel, one that can channel and contain your abilities." The procedure was excruciating. Jesse's primal energies lashed out as flesh and metal fused, creating a being both familiar and alien. Mira worked feverishly, guiding the integration with her own psionic abilities. Just as the reforging neared completion, the outpost shuddered violently. Alarms blared as a Laroon strike force breached the perimeter. "Sarah!" Mira growled, her hands still deep in the delicate circuitry of Jesse's new form. "She must have traced us here." Krashi's eyes narrowed. "Go, I'll hold them off." The next moments passed in a blur of searing energy bolts and acrid smoke. Mira half-dragged, half-carried the newly reborn Jesse through twisting corridors. Behind them, Krashi's psionic barriers flashed and buckled under the relentless Lurin assault. As they reached the hangar bay, a final telepathic message brushed Mira's mind. Krashi's last gift, coordinates and a name. Varela. The diplomat's presence vanished in a supernova of psychic energy, buying them the precious seconds needed to escape. Mira's ship screamed into the void, leaving the frozen hell of Karis 5 behind. In the cramped confines of the cockpit, Jesse stirred. His new form was a marvel of biomechanical engineering, but his eyes held the same cosmic depth Mira remembered. "Sarah," Jesse rasped, his voice a blend of organic and synthetic tones. "I can feel her. She's made her move." Mira's hands flew over the nav console, plotting a course based on Krashi's final message. "Then so have we," she said grimly. "It's time to rally what's left of the Alliance. We make our stand at Varela." As their ship vanished into hyperspace, neither Mira nor Jesse could have foreseen the unlikely alliances and cataclysmic battles that lay ahead. The destiny of the universe hung in the balance, with Sarah's vision of absolute unity poised against the chaotic tapestry of 1,000 divergent civilizations. The real war was just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.